numerous historians and political scientists have now documented that the war on drugs was part of a grand Republican Party strategy known as the Southern Strategy of using racially coded get tough appeals on issues of crime and welfare.
Our outrage against drugs unites us, brings us together.
There's a big question here. Sally Castillo and I are very close. You know, Sally was the DEA agent who was at Ilopango, who was told by Ambassador Edwin Corr that the drugs going out of hangars 4 and 5 were a White House operation.
Particular time, Barry was there to pick it up, and I asked him, what's going on? Where is this stuff that you're picking up today going? He said, well, this stuff and this stuff you delivered last night's going to Ilopango.
Mm-hmm. But ultimately it's going to California, correct?
And from there it's going to California to make stuff called crack.
Mm-hmm. And Seal said that the CIA planned to get all the blacks, and I don't want to use the word.
He didn't use black.
I know, he used the N-word, which I don't know if I can use on the air. But all the blacks in the U.S. hooked on it and throw them in prison. Now, was it Seal who said that, or Mike Harari, or Buddy Young? I'm trying to remember.
It was Barry Seal.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it's very...
Our outrage against drugs unites us, brings us together.
Maxine Waters had all this information because I personally called her, talked with her personally, and you'll remember this after you hear this, Maxine. You and I had, and your aide, we had many talks. And that convinced you to go after crack cocaine, you called it. It was cocaine. And marijuana in huge tankers, cars, rail cars. Who owned those rail cars? Zapata Transport Company, part of a division of Pennzoil. Zapata, Daddy Bush is Zapata. Zapata, Daddy Bush, Daddy Bush, Daddy Bush. Hauling the drugs out of Mexico from Felix Rodriguez, Chichiquatera, the Cuban connection to the Kennedy murder, who's running the drugs out of Mexico for Daddy Bush on his Zapata transport cars. Now, still goes on today, folks. Rail cars. They look like big oil tankers, each one of them, on the train.
And the irony of this is, at the same time, Bush is named drug czar of the Reagan administration.
He was.
So at the same time that his Central America operation is smuggling drugs into this country in unprecedented numbers, he's supposed to be in charge of the war on drugs that the Reagan administration and later Bush has exploited for political ends.
He was truly a drug czar,
yeah.
The demon drug crack hit the news. And as drug crime and blackness became conflated in the media, a wave of punitiveness swept over the United States. Legislators started passing harsh mandatory minimum sentences for minor drug crime, sentences harsher than murderers receive in many other Western democracies.
Lock up as many people as we could. So I raised the issue one day. There wasn't too many African Americans that were in command level positions, but I was in one of those. And I raised the issue. I said, well, look, if we're going to do these dragnet operations, we're going to go in. I said, what about Potomac? You think they use drugs out of Potomac? And it was like, and I said, what about Springfield and places like that? And I was naming all of these areas because I'm thinking it's an equal equal opportunity enforcement operation. And I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna attack drugs. Let's go get them all. Let's throw them all in jail. And let's do this thing right. And the supervisor, special agent in charge, he pulled me off to the side. He said, "Fall, let me talk to you for a minute." He said, "Look here, man." He said, you're right. He said, they do drugs out there. I said, I know they do. That's according to crime control statistics. They do more than we. They do more than people in the cities. He said to me, he said, you know what? He said, Frog, you're right. He said, but guess what, man? He said, if we go out there and start locking those folks up, he said, you know what's going to happen? He said, we're going to get a phone call. He said, you know what that phone call is going to say? Shut it down. He said, and guess what? The there goes your overtime. And man, I'm going to tell you, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Because then I said, man, this is ethnic cleansing. I said, now you got me being a part of going into my neighborhood going out the line because I can't go out there because they know judges, lawyers, and congressmen. I said, oh no, that's not going to work here. But you see what we got to understand when I talk about this whole piece, and I know we got to get out of here. But what we got to understand when we talk about the communities. No, I give the community, you have a right not to trust law enforcement. I hate saying that. Because I spent 30 years in it. But you know what? I had to fight bigots with badges working next to me. I had to fight guys that when I said, this isn't right, you hit him 10 times, you didn't need to hit him that many times. And he said, well, Fogg, why should you care? We all making money, we doing well, it wasn't your...
Drug dealing happens in all communities of all colors. But those who do time for drug crime are overwhelmingly black and brown. In some states like Illinois, 80 to 90% of all drug offenders sent to prison have been one race, African American. Now, I know that many people, when they actually see the disparities, see the data, will say, yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame, but you know, we need to get tough on them. Them in the hood, because that's where the violent offenders are. That's where the drug kingpins are. We need a war on them.
The intelligence divisions of the police department are answering to Daddy Bush. The intelligence divisions of the police department are where the scumbags lie. Okay? Usually some lieutenant in there giving orders, getting the orders from Daddy Bush's little group of CIA slimeballs and the NSA slimeballs that he put in office years ago and that have been still moved up the pipeline and so forth. That's where the problem usually lies. Remember, they blackmailed the Congress, they blackmailed the Senate, they blackmailed the police chiefs, they blackmailed the prosecutors, all and the federal judges all across this country. Then they turn around and promoted them up after they blackmailed them. That's the problem that we have.
It's been known for quite some time that the Bush family is generational Satanists. And generational Satanists are right down the bloodline. Goes way back into their bloodline.
It wasn't even authorized under the Constitution. It has to go with, if there's a tie or a runoff or whatever, it has to go before the Congress and Senate folks, not the Supreme Court. And who put it there? Daddy. And who was his buddy up there? The Supreme Court Justice Rehnquist. Who approved it? Who was who? He was working at the CIA and had been for years.
That's right. There you go.
Yep.
You know, we did this in 1825. John Quincy Adams essentially, was put into the presidency by the House of Representatives. Bush was put in by 5 Supreme Court justices, and 3 of them, for sure, worked for organized crime. And the Democrats never should have let those people in. The Democrats had the majority in the Senate, should never have let, Clarence Thomas, please, and there's nothing racial behind that. I'm not even going to say anymore, but Clarence Thomas, Roberts is an interesting guy. Twisted, but an interesting guy. We don't even need to get into this, but these guys have to go.
I know.
The council was putting pressure on him. So he castrated me, but...
That was your own father. They castrated you at the Kimball Castle.
Yes.
On the altar of Satan. And George Herbert Walker Bush was there, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. They all were.
The whole council of 13, including your father, Anton LaVey.
Well, yeah. He's the one that did it, yeah.
What's hard for people to understand is the people that run the world Zionist system and their top henchmen. You cannot work your way up unless you go through rites of initiation, and I've written about these in articles. They have rites of initiation. The higher you go through the worse and worse initiation rites. They start out with, you're at a party and everything's great, and they got a lot of really good-looking women around, and you're having fun, and they're bringing you nice drinks, and they're not too strong. They're nice. All at once, the next thing you know, this guy will wake up in bed with a beautiful woman next to him, but the problem is she's only 14 years old. The host will run and say, "Oh my God, what have you done? You got drunk? You went off with my daughter. This is really, oh no, I hope so nobody saw us, and I'm so upset. You got to leave right now. Don't tell anybody about this. We have to cover this up. This will ruin me, blah, blah, blah." So then in the middle of the night, the next night, some FBI guy comes. Liddy used to love to do these, not to worry, but just knock on the door and say, "We got some pictures of you, a pedophile, doing pedophile things. We're so upset, but we know that you were set up and everything. You were drugged and set up, but we're going to do everything we can to protect you. Senator so-and-so, that's head of the Intelligence Committee, is going to be calling you, and he's taken personal responsibility for this, and we're going to do everything we can to protect you, but don't talk to anybody about it, and you've got to stay within very narrow parameters. You've got to keep him happy because he's got all the power. If you cross him, you're going to lose your protection." So then, of course, the next morning, he gets a call from Senator so-and-so. Say, "I'm working hard to protect you. I know what happened. Don't you worry about it. These things are done all the time, these honey traps. We're going to protect you." And then, of course, "But I got this bill coming out, and you got to do something for me." And this guy might be of the opposite political party. The guy said, "Well, I can't do that. I've been against it my whole career." He said, "Look, you got to do it. You got to come up with an excuse. You got to come up with a way. If you have trouble, call my aide, so-and-so. He will help you come up with a cover story or whatever." Okay, and that's how it starts. Then the next party they go to, the guy's convinced, "I'll never do this again." The next party, he wakes up and he's with a little kid of the opposite sex, and of course the cameras are rolling, and the same thing repeats and all this stuff. And this happens a number of times, and pretty soon he learns to like it. And so this is just the way things are done in D.C., and you're part of the system now. They have to give up their souls. Their souls are snatched from them through these various entrapments. Finally, they get to the highest level where you want to be a real player, you got to play ball. You have to. These things are unpleasant, but you got to do it. You got to play along. So then they go and they see a human sacrifice of a little baby where they're stabbed through the chest with a dagger, a 14-inch dagger right through to the other side, and then their heart's cut out, and they cut it in little chunks, and everybody takes a bite. And they know that if they want to get to the top, they got to go along with this stuff. This is just the way this has been done thousands of years. The people that run the world are the chosen ones. This is just the way it's done. And so they do it. And all at once, everything goes their way. They're head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. They got money coming in. They got set-aside allocations in the Cayman Island banks and a number of accounts, Swiss account, all kinds of stuff all over. They got 5 houses all over the world, one in Hawaii, one in Florida, one in Phoenix on the mountain there. Life is theirs. They got good-looking women. They go to